Training camp report, August 12th, 2021. You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. Man, it's beastly hot today. 95 degrees, heat index well into the hundreds. It was something else. Then they toned it down a little bit physically. No shoulder pads, just helmets and game jerseys. And they were only out there maximum an hour and a half for the entire practice, working on situational football, red zone, third down, all the things that they need to fine-tune as they get ready to play their first preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Joe Burrow had been announced earlier that he will not take a snap in this football game. Fred Johnson, just recovering from a quad injury, probably could play, but they're not going to push it. He'll play next week against Washington. Larry Ogunjobi with a hamstring issue. He's been back at practice this week. They're not going to push it and have a setback there. He'll probably play next week against Washington as well. And Trey Hopkins, recovering from an ACL that he tore the last game of the season in January of this year. Remarkable recovery. They're not going to force the issue with him either. They don't want to get him all involved in action between the tackles, a lot of piles and that sort of thing. Take it easy, let him get a few more practices under his belt before he plays, and I think that might be in the Washington game as well. With that said, a lot of the snaps in today's practice were taken by guys that are going to play a ton in the preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The starters, as such, will play 8 to 10, maybe a dozen snaps. I mean, if the number one offense goes on an 8 to 10 play drive, that might be it for them. They may just take them out at that point in time. I'm talking about the skill players. The offensive line may play. Some of the offensive linemen may play a little bit longer than that. But Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, those guys will be out if they go on that kind of a drive. If they have 2 3 and outs, they may go in for a third drive until they get it right. So it's all fluid, but I don't think that the number ones will be in for any longer than a quarter. And at that point in time, they'll start to make massive substitutions on both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. And I think, you know, it's going to be a big night, obviously, at the quarterback position for Brandon Allen. With Joe Burrow not playing, Brandon Allen will get a couple of series at the quarterback position with the number ones, and he's been performing pretty well at training camp. Big night for Kyle Shermer. Kyle Shermer out of Vanderbilt will probably play, I'd say, the second and third quarter. And then Eric Dungy will probably wrap things up and clean up in the fourth quarter. So it's going to be a big day for these quarterbacks to show what they might have. As you look at it, they took a lot of snaps, most of the snaps at today's practice. Auden Tate didn't really take very many snaps either. The snaps during the course of the day were distributed amongst guys that are going to be playing in the preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the top 3 wide receivers, actually top 4 wide receivers when you count Auden Tate, they really didn't get a whole lot of snaps in today's practice. And guys like Trent Irwin, who caught a deep ball touchdown pass, Scotty Washington caught a red zone touchdown pass, and they dropped a red zone touchdown pass and immediately hit the deck and did 10 push-ups. Unfortunate injury, Travion Williams, the running back out of Texas A&M, pulled up a little bit lame with the left hamstring, and it seems like it's right in the belly of the hamstring, right in the middle of the hamstring. But that's a more than likely a couple of week injury, unfortunately, and it's going to be a big night for him. He's battling for that third running back opportunity with Chris Evans, who they drafted out of Michigan. They really like Evans as a receiver out of the backfield. He runs good routes, catches the ball exceptionally well. They want to see him run the football, and I'm interested to see him run the football as well. It's going to be a big night of evaluation for Chris Evans. And then you look at the tight end position. There's a tremendous battle going on at that position group as well. You've got the 2 tight ends, C.J. Uzomah, Drew Sample, but boy, who's going to be the third and fourth tight end? It's Mitchell Wilcox, who's probably the most gifted receiver. He can really run. He can play special teams. It's going to be a big night for Mitchell Wilcox at tight end. Thaddeus Moss, of course, is going to be in the mix. Mason Schreck as well. It's Drew Sample and C.J. Uzomah will play very limited snaps with the number one. So you're going to be looking at tight ends, wide receivers, trying to get the back end of those roster positions solidified. running backs that are fighting for those spots. When we were in that situation when I was a player, the coaches would game plan, or what they would do is play selection, not necessarily game plan for the first preseason game, but they would call plays that featured people that they wanted to evaluate. In other words, all right, well, in practice, it looks like, boy, this Mitchell Wilcox looks like he's a pretty good receiver. Well, in the game, they call a play that would that the player is either the primary option or he has to do something successfully in performing a critical task that determines the outcome. Maybe he has to hook block on the perimeter so the run gets outside. Maybe he's the primary receiver, and coaches would call plays specifically to evaluate these players. Now, you think, oh man, that's not what's that all about? That's what preseason games are for. Preseason games are for seeing if you've got guys that you think look good in practice that might be able to step up and help you make plays during the course of the season on a game-by-game basis. So that evaluation process starts right at that point in time. Obviously, first and foremost, though, for the offense is who's going to play guard in the offensive line. Quentin Spain, Michael Jordan get the first nod with the number ones, but Deontay Smith, he's going to have something to say about playing time. Xavier Suafilo, Jackson Carman, Trey Hill, another rookie. Billy Price gets the start at center with Trey Hopkins out. But Jonah Williams, Riley Reif, obviously are going to be the starters at the tackle position at this point in time. Big battle going on. Isaiah Prince is having himself a pretty darn good camp. There's no question about it. He's got some length. He's got some athleticism to him. Fred Johnson is a guy that at 6'8", 325 pounds, has got length and strength. And he's not quite as athletic as Isaiah Prince, maybe a little bit stiffer from a body standpoint, but he's definitely stronger. I mean, he's got much more overall body strength than Isaiah Prince, but Isaiah Prince has that length and he uses it pretty good for leverage. So, different guys provide you different deals. So it just like at wide receiver, the two Trents. Trent Taylor is a slot receiver, but he can also return punts. Gives you a lot of value there. Trent Irwin, he's a slot receiver. He can also give you some position versatility. He can play outside in a pinch. Trent Taylor would be, because of his height, would be a tough situation for him to go outside in the formation in the receiver. So you got guys that can do different things. You have position battles going on that are going to be extraordinary to watch on the offensive side of the football for sure. And it all starts against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On the defensive side of the football in this game, I think the defensive line is pretty set in terms of who's going to line up to start. Larry Ogunjobi will start with DJ Reader when Ogunjobi's totally healthy. Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson on the edge. But there's a real battle going on for rotation snaps. Who's going to provide relief inside and outside? Josh Tupou is having a really, really strong camp. Kareem is doing well on the edge. Joseph Asai is doing well on the edge. Cam Sample can play the edge, set an edge for you, and he can also slide inside and pass rush as an inside defensive tackle, as a three technique shading the outside of the guard. So there's a lot of guys that are going to be stepping up and trying to win some opportunity to get the 15 to 20 rotational snaps that are available at the different position groups. You want to rotate as many fresh bodies as you possibly can in there. And the big question is, there's a bunch of guys in the secondary that have some soft tissue issues, hamstrings and that sort of thing. Not serious issues in terms of maybe missing regular season games, that type of thing, but they may be limited in their play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Eli Apple has been messing with a hamstring. Ricardo Allen the same way. Trey Waynes. A lot of these guys have some issues that they've been dealing with, so it'll be interesting to see how those snaps will be monitored. But there's some battles going on there as well. There's the one thing that this team has compared to last year is depth, and it's not like the coaches are saying, "Geez, we have no options. We've got nowhere to go with the injury that we just suffered here at defensive tackle. We don't really have anybody that we can throw in there at this point in time." And this year they do. So I think that the depth of the team is definitely stronger, and I think it'll start to show itself against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because big snaps for these guys. Finally, in this football game, in a lot of these positions, the running back position, that's, you're trying to figure out who's going to be the third and maybe fourth running back, who's going to be the fifth and maybe sixth wide receiver, who's going to be the third or maybe fourth tight end. All these are going to be factors. Okay, how many are going to be active on game day? How many are going to be deactivated? It's all going to be decided by special teams, and special team snaps are going to be, furrow will be flying in preseason game number 1, because everybody from Jump Street, the first punt team that goes out there, they're battling to stay on that punt team, to make the team because of special teams play, punt return, kickoff return. There's going to be some serious battles going on there because they're fighting for those last roster spots. And by the way, unfortunately, Darren Simmons' dad passed away on Wednesday morning of this week. He battled cancer and passed away. So Darren went back to take care of his family and take care of the burial of his father back to Kansas. So Darren Simmons, unfortunately, will be coaching with a heavy heart if, in fact, they get everything squared away and he's able to get back in time to coach against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But special team snaps for Darren Simmons are going to be massive as they're evaluating the back end of this roster. So it's going to be the huge tiebreaker. How many snaps can player X give me at the line of scrimmage, offensively, defensively, and doing his thing for special teams? You got to stay in your lane, keep contained, block people when you're called upon to do so, get off blocks if you're covering kicks, and tackle. I mean, that's the bottom line, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these guys on special teams because they literally are fighting for their lives in the National Football League. And all these players, from number 1 to number 80, if 80 players get in this football game, they all want to put good snaps on tape. You're not just performing for the Cincinnati Bengals when you go on the football field against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're performing for all 32 teams in the National Football League. And like we said a few times, there's the 46-man roster on game day. There's the 53-man roster that everybody's trying to make, and then 46 are chosen for a game day activation. But then there are 16 more practice squad opportunities. That's 69 players times 32 teams. So there are jobs out there. If you don't make it with the Cincinnati Bengals, maybe somebody sees something on tape in your preseason games, be it offense, defense, or special teams, that catches their eye, and you get another opportunity to extend your career. I've seen it many times where players get picked up by another team after the preseason because of the effort they put forth in the preseason game when they faced that team. Boy, he played really well against us. I think he's a little bit better than what we got. He's better than our 52nd or 53rd player. Let's let guy go and bring him in, or let's put him on our practice squad. He's better than our 65th through 69th guy. Let's bring him in our practice squad. So it's uber competitive, and you're putting as much good tape out there as you possibly can, because every one of these players that are in a training camp right now are doing everything they possibly can to extend their NFL career for as long as they possibly can. And that's when it's a lot of fun to watch the competition.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.